And this is Tops.
Sup?
And this is Bottoms. Sup? And this is Triple. Sup? Avocado. Oh, get your broomsticks out, team, because we're getting witchy with it today. Wow. And we're guys! Hi, team. Happy Thursday, my wacky witches and warlocks. Oh boy, it's been a hot minute since we updated our witchy crafters, and boy, oh boy, we've got a sick new build for all y'all.
In case you guys missed it, on Monday we did a full case opening of Ghosts from the Past. We do want to build a lot of those decks, however, the majority of them have a ton of support coming out in just the next few weeks, so instead of giving you guys amateur profiles, we just wait until all the support is out and we can show you the full potential of those decks. So in the meantime, we figured we would update one of our favorite decks. Shout out to Vincent, one of our patrons who asked to do this deck in one of his sessions. After working on it for a couple days now, I think this deck is actually really good and has a ton of rogue potential. It's definitely not a top tier deck,
but this deck will certainly cast a spell on your heart because it's real cute, it's real fun, and it's, it's actually pretty kind of good. Friendly reminder to join the Patreon if you ever want to actually, have a part in the decks that we put up on the channel and feel like, you have some input on what we build and how it's built. So, no shameless plug here, but shameless plug.
Yeah, we just wanted to update this deck. I think it's really fun. It's a cool little, kind of controlled deck. So before we get into this deck, if you guys are not already a subscriber, feel free to go down and hit that subscribe button, throw this video a like, and comment your favorite spellcaster.
Mine's Dark Magician because he can attack directly for game. We also have an Instagram. It's @CrushCardsYGO. Feel free to come give us a follow if you want to interact with us a little bit more. We also have a super wholesome Discord community. It's absolutely bopping. We hold remote dual tourneys, and I'm in there all the time if you want to make some new friends and feel like you're part of a big old community. And then last but not least, if you want to further support the channel and all of our shenanigans, we have a Patreon. The month is almost over, which means the bloopers are lurking, and the side deck for this deck will also be going up on the Patreon. And as I said, the Patreon is just a really cool place to be. If you want to check it out, feel free. Links are in the description box down below. But if not, that's okay. We're just happy you're here to get witchy with it. But with that being said, I painted my nails just for this video, so appreciate my nails as I swipe these away. All right, let's get it. Ka-chow.
So starting off the deck, we're going to go into the Big Mommy Boss monsters. The first of which is Witchcrafter Madame Vare.
Our smug sweetie.
The second one is Witchcrafter Golem Aruru.
Otherwise known as Ooh Woo Woo.
The next one and the final one is our last copy and the one copy of Witchcrafter Hane.
Our leather goddess. May we praise her.
All three of these cards are honestly pretty decent at 1. If you want to make any argument for a card at 2, I think Hane is probably one of the best ones to play at 2. However, in testing, this is a spell heavy deck, so you don't want to have multiple monsters in your hand. So the smaller monster count that you play, the higher chances of seeing spells in your hand, and you have tons of ways to get these into the graveyard and bring them back, or just search these cards, or just special them from the deck. So each copy at 1 has been more than fine. So working backwards, Hane has the effect where your opponent cannot target spellcaster monsters you control with card effects except itself, and then it also has a quick effect where you can discard one spell card, target a face-up card your opponent controls, and then destroy it. So this is just your in-archetype spot removal. Witchcrafter Golem Aruru has the ability whenever your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a spellcaster monster you control or targets it for an attack, kind of like the Melfi's. Isn't that kind of cute?
Wow.
Quick effect, you can target one card your opponent controls or a Witchcrafter spell in your graveyard, special this card from your hand, and then you can return the targeted card to your hand. So this can help you clear cards or just help you get resources from your graveyard back to your hand. And then it's really cool because your opponent kind of has to answer this card, because if not, once returned during your opponent's standby phase, return this card to the hand. So this card continually loops itself and bounces back to hand.
She reminds me a lot of Alpha Master of Beasts, another busted level 8 in the game that I play in my Grandmaju deck. I wonder if they're like friends. They're both level 8s, they're both really good, they both like to bounce. I wonder if they're trampoline buddies.
And then the last one is our Witchcrafter Madame Vare. This is probably the best boss monster in the deck, because during damage calculation, if your spellcaster monster battles an opponent's monster, quick effect, you can reveal any number of spell cards in your hand with different names. Your battling monster gains 1,000 attack and defense for each card revealed. And that gain is until the end of the turn, and then she has the additional effect where quick effect, you can discard one spell card and then negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls. This is just your in-archetype skill drain. It just skill drains the whole board by discarding a spell.
Yeah, she's like discount Forbidden Droplet.
You literally just discard a card, it doesn't target, and it just blankets the whole board.
She's like Nike, she just does it. I also think it's really cool that her first effect is during damage calculation. There's not a lot of effects that actually occur in damage calc themselves, so it's really nice because it actually protects you from a lot of effects, because a lot of effects say except during damage step or damage calculation. So it's actually really nice.
Moving on to the smaller little students.
Bye, my smug sweetie, I love you.
As we've said in multiple other profiles before, this is a spell reliant deck, so we did cut some of the monster counts down, but we are still on triple copies of the main starter card, which is Witchcrafter Shmieta. Shmieta. During the main phase, quick effect, you can tribute this card and discard one spell card, special summon one Witchcrafter monster from your deck. So for what it's worth, these are the students now. All the students have that same exact effect, where quick effect, you can tribute itself, discard a spell, and then special summon any Witchcrafter monster from your deck. They all have different graveyard effects, and Schmetza's effect is you can banish this card from your graveyard and send one Witchcrafter card from your deck to your graveyard. It is good to note that you can use each of these effects in the same turn. So this can just get you a boss monster and then can banish to get you any card into your graveyard, because all of the Witchcrafter spells at the end phase, if you did not use their effect, will come back to your hand. So you get a free spell in your hand at the end phase. And then moving on to the second best normal summon, we are playing double copies of Witchcrafter Jenny. Jenny has the same effect where once again you contribute yourself as a quick effect and then discard a spell to special summon any of your Witchcrafter monsters from the deck. So the graveyard effect of this, so you'll banish this in the spell, and then in the banish, this becomes the spell effect. So like, say you banish this on a reborn, the effect becomes the reborn, so then you get that effect. It's a little like complicated the way that it's worded, but just know that whatever spell you banish, that's the effect that this becomes.
Friendly reminder that Witchcrafter Jenny is serving him Endymion. Witchcrafter lore, where are you at? I don't know. Someone let me know in the comments if you want me to do that.
She's also a level 1. Good to know.
Oh, look, Karibo.
Woo! And then for our last normal summon, we are playing the one copy of Witchcrafter Praetore. This card is honestly pretty good at 1. I don't really think you like need to even play this card, but it is a different name, and sometimes you just need a different normal summon that isn't a card effect that you haven't already used. So it's the same effect, attribute itself, discard a spell, special summon, but it has the additional effect. You can banish this card from your graveyard, draw one card, then send a Witchcrafter card from your hand to the graveyard, or if you can't, you have to banish your entire hand. It's like a really exaggerated Allure of Darkness.
She's like a lure, but like the back alley version of a lure that's like, nah, you don't lose everything. You're gonna lose everything and then some.
Yeah, it's Allure of Darkness without the darkness.
It's just the allure.
It's the allure.
It's the, oh,
here you go.
the allure of her being so darn cute, but absolutely ruining your life if you screw up.
Are those balloons?
Don't screw up. No, it's
Spells?
it's like paint.
Potions?
Isn't it paint?
I don't know what it is.
I think it's paint.
Well-
Her hair's a paintbrush.
We'll let you know in the lore.
All right, we're sure.
And then if you haven't already figured it out in any of the other Witchcrafter deck profiles that we've done before, and in this one, this is unfortunately not a budget variant, so we are playing
Gasp. Us not doing a budget deck? Who would have thought?
triple copies of Magician Souls. This card is honestly like really freaking ridiculous in this
That's where
deck.
that level 6 spellcaster thing came in.
Yeah, so Magician Souls has the ability where you can send any level 6 or higher spellcaster type monster from your deck to the graveyard to special summon this card for free. So it's a free body, it's a level 1, it can get you Link Karibo, it can also get you an additional monster on field going second to try to break boards. And then obviously this card has the other effect where you can send 2 spell and or trap cards from your hand and or field to the graveyard and then draw that many cards. What's really good about this card is that all of the Witchcrafter spells, if you don't use them, you get to add them back at the end phase from your graveyard to your hand. So you can like send 2, draw 2, and then if you didn't use the 2 you sent, you just add them back. So this is like a +4.
Ah, Shizuku could never.
And then we are playing a ton of reborns in this deck, so like sending one of the high level monsters to the graveyard really doesn't matter.
This is literally just an extender.
Yeah.
It's a great card. I mean, these are all spellcasters, so why would you not? Shout out to hopefully getting reprinted this year.
Hey.
Maybe. We can hope.
And then moving off to the Witchcrafter spells, we are playing triple copies of Witchcrafter Holiday.
I
This
love
is
this card.
literally our in-archetype monster reborn. That's all this card is. Target one Witchcrafter monster in your graveyard, special summon it. And then all of the Witchcrafter spells have the effect where if you did not use this card's name or this card's effect that turn, you can add it back from your graveyard to your hand during the end phase. So if you don't activate the reborn, you can add this back and get like a free card at the end of your turn. It's only your turn, not your opponent's turn. It's unfortunate because that's kind of a little slow, but like I feel like it's actually kind of like really beneficial for the deck.
It's also just really cool because it just adds fuel to your hand for Vare if you ever want to use her because, you know, obviously she needs spells to bump herself up. I think it's just really cool that it all builds around that mechanic. I don't know. They're crafting.
And then the next Witchcrafter card that we are playing at 3 is 3 copies of Witchcrafter Unveiling.
Are those Euro prints?
These are the Euro print.
Oh
yeah.
my
So
God.
if they look fake, they're not. They're just from Europe.
They're just prettier.
This card says that you can special summon one Witchcrafter monster from your hand, and if you do, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of your spellcaster monster's effects for the rest of this turn. This card is really good going first because it can help you just kind of like shut off a lot of interaction that your opponent has, and then going second if you're trying to break a board or if you're just trying to like set up and play the game. This really just like makes it so your opponent can't interact with this too. This is like Misk 2.0. And then once again, the end phase, if you don't use this card but it's in your graveyard, you can add it back to your hand.
This card's really bonkers. I think the fact that it's a quick play spell is so freaking cool, and I also think this is my favorite card art. I think I mentioned this in every single Witchcrafter video. This is my favorite card art in the deck. It's so good. Like, Hane is like, I don't want to be here. Freaking Jenny is just, she's got like the anime glasses. Like, I love it. It's so good. We got Smug Girl, and then we got our mommy, a woo-woo. I don't know. I'm just off on a tangent. I just think this card's really cool. It's super cute. Props to whoever designed this card.
Then we're playing Witchcrafter Creation at 2. I know that sounds kind of strange, but at the end of the day, this is realistically just a monster because this card is your Rhoda for the deck. You can add any Witchcrafter monster from your deck to your hand. It doesn't have to have a level restriction. It can be the big ones, the small ones, the intermediate ones. Not that there really are any of those, but like this card just searches anything. And the reason that we're playing it at 2 is because we're not playing a ton of Witchcrafter monsters. So you, once again, like being a spell heavy deck, you don't want to see a ton of monsters. This card just becomes a monster. So we only played it 2, and at 2, it hasn't been that much of an issue.
Remember when this card was like $50 for like 10 minutes? Me too. Those were good times. 2019. Wild.
And then we are playing the 2 continuous spells, the 1 copy of Witchcrafter By Street and then the 1 copy of Witchcrafter Scroll. Both of these cards have the same exact effect as the other spells, but because they're continuous spells, instead of activating them at the end phase to add back to your hand, they just place themselves in your spell trap zone if you didn't use their effects. Witchcrafter By Street says the first time each Witchcrafter monster you control would be destroyed each turn by battle or card effect, it is not destroyed. So
That's
this is like,
nice.
This card's really, really good.
Against Dragoon trying to blow everything up, it's kind of nice.
And then it has the additional effect where if a Witchcrafter monster you control would discard to activate an effect, you can send this card from your spell trap zone to the graveyard instead. Then Scrolls has the same exact effect where if a Witchcrafter monster would discard to activate the effect, you can send this card instead. And then it also has the additional effect where once per turn when a spellcaster monster destroys a monster by battle, you get to draw 1 card.
Woo! And then the last Witchcrafter card we're playing is Witchcrafter Collaboration. This card says target a Witchcrafter monster you control. It can make a second attack during each battle phase this turn. That's pretty cool. Also, if it attacks this turn, your opponent cannot activate spell trap cards until the end of the damage step. That's nice. During your end phase, of course, if you control a Witchcrafter monster while this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card back to your hand. It's the same effect that all the other ones have.
This really just helps you put damage on board if you don't have access to do so.
All of these cards, like all of the spells seem to have really good effects that seem like really good monsters in like meta decks. I don't know, like this gives me like BLS vibes.
Yeah.
Other cards give me, I don't know, they just give me like vibes of meta cards.
Yeah, this is just like nerfed Skyscrapers.
Yeah.
That's what this deck is. And then probably the best card in the deck, we're playing the 1 copy of Reasoning. Your opponent declares a monster level. Excavate cards from the top of your deck until you excavate a monster that can be normal summon or set. And if that monster is the same level as the one declared by your opponent, send all the excavated cards to the graveyard. If not, special summon the excavated monster and then send the remaining cards to the graveyard. This just gets you all the spells in your graveyard and then you can just add them back at the end phase. It gets you a free body, it gets you an extender, it gets you a starter. Like, this card is at 1 for a reason, and it's not Witchcrafter, but it could be. And then for consistency cards, we are off to 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods, and then the 1 copy of Metal Foes Fusion, and then our 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance.
Woo!
Pot of Extravagance kind of has a little bit of a restriction in this deck because there are a ton of cards that draw in this deck. However, you always want to see additional cards. So if you know that you have access to like a Metal Foes Fusion or even access to like your Magician Souls, just go with what you see is the best line of play in your hand. Because those cards, those draw cards, can always just be follow-ups as well. And this deck literally just like doesn't use this extra deck at all. So I know a lot of people would ask about Prosperity. Prosperity is good, but you're not really digging for a ton of cards, and you already have so many consistency cards in this deck to see your starter cards that having 2 additional cards, most of the times they will be spells. It's just better than having 1 card that you're searching for. So I prefer Pot of Extravagance in this build 1000% more. Metal Foes Fusion is also really good because if you hard open it, you can just discard it off of any of your Witchcrafter effects and use it as that additional draw power. And then Foolish Burial Goods can help you get the fusion into your graveyard or just any of your Witchcrafter spells to the graveyard so that you can add them back during the end phase.
At the end of the day, seeing more spells in your hand is just better than seeing 1 card. So, spells.
And then on to some of the changes in the deck. We are still playing the 1 copy of Instant Fusion, but then we are just outright main decking 3 copies of Super Power.
Hell yeah, best card of the format, let's go!
This card can help you just break boards going second. It can also just provide additional interruption that this deck kind of needs going first. So maybe you've noticed that there's no hand traps in this deck.
Yeah.
Super Poly kind of makes up for that. Instant Fusion also makes up for that. All of these cards allow you to go first and allow you to go second. And we do have some really cool spice in the side deck that kind of coincides with these as well.
Yes, so don't worry. We know there's no hand traps, but it's okay, guys. We prepared. We prepared the deck.
Side decks will be up on Patreon hopefully tomorrow. So yeah, I mean, like, these cards don't really need any like explanation.
Yeah. Good card, good card.
Yeah. And then probably some of the powerhouse cards in this deck. We are playing triple copies of Secret Village of the Spellcasters and then the 1 copy of Terraforming. This is just like an auto win against a ton of matchups right now.
Except for Pendulum. If you're playing against Triff, I'm sorry. This isn't the one for you.
Let's go! anyways, Secret Village of the Spellcaster says that if you control a spellcaster monster, your opponent cannot activate spell cards. And then if you control no spellcaster monsters, you cannot activate spell cards. So good news is you're typically always going to have a spellcaster, so this just turns off like a quarter of the Yu-Gi-Oh mechanic, which is spells. We decided to main deck this again because Shaddoll Invoked is running around like crazy. Dragon Link plays a ton of different spell extenders. Even decks like Dinosaurs play spells. Eldritch plays spells too. Like Eldritch isn't really playing pure anymore, so all the engines that go along with Eldritch, this at least slows them down for a couple turns. For the last cards in the deck, we're playing Call by the Grave.
Brian's favorite card.
The second favorite card.
Brian's other favorite card.
Reborn, and then the one copy of Witchcrafter Patronus. These two are just self-explanatory, but Patronus says that you can target one of your spellcaster monsters that is either banished or in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and if you do, add one Witchcrafter spell from your deck to your hand. If there's any argument in this deck to bump any cards up, I think this card could be played at 2. But this deck is already at 41, and that is the perfect number for us. So I honestly think with all the draw power, all the searching, you see this card at least by turn 2 or 3 anyways. Moving on to the extra deck.
Woo!
Moving on to the extra deck, we are on the one copy of our Relinquished Anima. This just literally sucks up a monster. Shout out to Party Man.
Oh, so we're not playing Link Karibo. That's what you meant for the level 1. Oh.
We're also playing 2 copies.
Oh my god, there's 2! I didn't even know there were 2 Link Karibo. Oh, good news, guys. We've got 2 Link Karibo. Thank God.
Yep, this card literally is just like, you know, a little baby interruption because it makes your opponent's monster attack 0. You know what this card does.
He is truly the best.
Yeah, this card's great.
OP.
And then we're playing double copies of Verte Anaconda.
Plant.
The plant! What up, Remy? Yeah, this card just gets you access to Super Poly. It can get you access to your instant fusion, and it also just helps you link climb and make some of your additional plays.
Yeah, I bet you guys got scared for a sec there. You're like, wait, I didn't see Red Eyes Fusion in this deck. You're right, you didn't, but Super Poly's the thing.
There's also some cool spice in the side deck. Once again, Patreon side decks will be up tomorrow. Shout out to Triff, playing double copies of Big Mommy Celine.
Best girl Celine.
This card is just insane. This card says that if this card is link summoned, place spell counters on this card equal to the number of spell cards on the field and in the graveyards. That's each player. This card is so crazy. And then it also has the quick effect where during the main phase, you can remove 3 spell counters from this card, special summon 1 spellcaster type monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position to an arrow that this card points to.
She literally just gets a 5,000 counters immediately, and then you just do whatever you want.
Yeah, this card is great. Once
She's
this
so
card
good.
hits the field, you just win the game.
She's so good.
So, alright, moving on.
Pen best deck.
For our instant fusion targets, we are on double copies of Thousand Eyes Restrict, and then the spice is we're on double copies of El Shaddoll Window.
Wow, we hate her, but we must play her. Know thy enemy, folks.
Really good to note that both of these are spellcasters. I'm just going to put this here and let y'all, you know, put 2 and 2 together.
Wow.
We're on double copies of Muddragon of the Swamp for our Super Poly targets, along with double copies of Starving Venom. This is really just your generic extravagance package for this deck. I feel like we've kind of been on this extra deck for a while. It just changes here and there depending on the format.
Or honestly, if you want different, like 4 total Super Poly targets and you don't care being an extrav deck, you can just put 4 targets in general in here. It doesn't have to be 2 and 2. You can do whatever you want.
And it also is good to note that Winda can potentially be a Super Poly target depending on the actual metagame and depending on your matchup.
That's true. This is kind of a your call kind of thing, but these are just what we play.
Alright, let's get on to a test hand and see exactly what this deck is capable of.
Woo!
Alright, welcome to the test hand section of the video. We are just going to shuffle these up real quick and just do a quick little demonstration of what this deck can do. As always, this is not a combo deck, so this might just be, you know, like a little small demonstration, maybe a turn by turn just to like what you can do with this deck, but we just want to showcase exactly what the build can do with a randomized 5-card hand. So with that being said, we'll just get a couple of these going. Oop. We'll get a couple some of these going. Alright, we'll let our opponent cut.
Alright, let's cast some spells, fam. Who's with me? I love you, Summon Sork. I miss you.
Me too. We'll see a Holiday, Reborn, our By Street, Scrolls, our copy of Metaphos Fusion, and a Jenny! Sweet! So here we're just going to normal summon our Witchcrafter Jenny and then activate the effect, tributing herself and the Metaphos Fusion. Here we'll summon our Witchcrafter Madame Vare directly from our deck, and now we can activate the Metaphos Fusion, shuffling it into the deck and then drawing 1 additional card. Pony, you want to cut before I draw to make sure?
No funny business here, you know, in the spellcaster deck.
Beautiful. We'll draw a card, seeing, ooh, a Foolish Burial Goods. That's pretty nice. Here, we'll just activate the Foolish Burial Goods. We'll send a copy of our Witchcrafter creation. Now we can, pen jokes here. activate our buy street in scale, and we'll just pass turn. And at the end phase, because we didn't activate our creation and we control a Witchcrafter monster, this will come back to our hand. So now what we have here is we have our Witchcrafter buy street, which will protect our Bear from being destroyed by card effect or by battle at least once the next turn. We have 3 spells in hand, so we can activate the Madame Bear to reveal 3 to boost her defense up all the way to 58 to make sure she cannot be run over. And then we also have the Scrolls effect to either send it from our continuous spell trap zone to the graveyard to activate the Bear to negate the entire board, or we can just send any of the cards in our hand, probably the Scrolls here, to just activate that effect to negate all monster effects that our opponent will currently control at that time. And then next turn, we'll just draw an Unveiling, which is great because now we can just go for our Witchcrafter creation here, grabbing a Shmeta. Now we can activate the Jenny to banish this and the creation, searching our copy of Petore. Now we can normal the Petore, activate the effect to send our Holiday from our hand to our graveyard and tribute herself, special summoning a Hane directly from our deck. Now we can activate the Petore to banish it, draw 1 card, and then discard a Witchcrafter card. Now this is good because we actually searched the Shmeta. Now we can activate the Shmeta effect to banish, and we'll send our Witchcrafter collaboration here. Now here we have 2 cards in our hand to still activate the Bear effect if we want to do the damage calculation trick. Plus we have a Hane on board with 2400 attack. And then depending on what you do, we did not use collaboration this turn, and we did not use Holiday this turn, so they will also add back, and we didn't use Scrolls, so Scrolls will just add itself to our spell trap zone at the end phase. So right here off of 2 turns, we're in a pretty decent spot when it comes to hand advantage.
You also have a Super Poly, that's pretty good.
You can obviously set that Super Poly, but at this point you have 1 pop and you have a complete blanket negate, plus you have battle protection, and you also have the ability to make either of these an additional 4K. So like, you can set the Super Poly if you want, but this is a better follow-up than it is like an interruption again.
So yeah, this is the deck. It takes obviously a turn or 2 to snowball like most rogue decks, but once this deck starts a brewing, because they're witches, they witch brew stuff, it's really good. It's really good. I really enjoy this deck. We've always loved this version of the deck, and I don't know, this deck's just fun. We love Witchcrafters. We've always loved Witchcrafters. So Witchcrafter Gang Rise, we're super excited. Feel free to leave a comment if this is your deck below. This deck is super duper fun. It's one of our favorites. We hope you guys enjoy it too. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget our box break for Ghosts from the Past is tomorrow night here on YouTube on stream. Stream will start at 5 p.m. Box break is at 7 p.m. We're going to be doing raffles and giveaways. It's going to be an absolute blast. You hope you're going to be there because I'm going to be there, and that's all that matters. I'll be there too. I'll also be there. That's what's really important. Wow. But we love you, you matter, and I hope you guys have a terrific Thursday. See you guys later.